Hey everybody, I'm back in North Dakota. That's the state capitol building behind me. It's the tallest building in the state. The reason I'm here is because tomorrow is the last day of the SLAPP harassment lawsuit brought by the fossil fuel industry, specifically the Energy Transfer Pipeline Company, against Greenpeace. This case threatens the climate movement, the indigenous rights movement, and the right to protest of every single person in this country. It's a direct attack on the First Amendment. Now, many of you have been following my coverage of the Mahmoud Khalil abduction by ICE last week out of student housing at Columbia University. These cases are different, but they're also similar. Why? They're both designed, in Khalil's case, by the US government, in the Greenpeace case, by a pipeline company, to silence people who are calling out abuse. Greenpeace was calling out the abuse by the Energy Transfer Pipeline Company of the Standing Rock Sioux by running a pipeline across their historic unceded territory, by creating a pipeline, horizontal drilling under a critically important lake, a lake that has water that the tribe uses for all sorts of cultural practices, for its drinking water, for its life sustenance. And because Greenpeace did that, as well as a lot of other groups, they're going after Greenpeace, trying to bankrupt it. In Khalil's case, he was calling out the awful, slaughter of civilians that the Israeli military carried out in Gaza and now beyond in the West Bank, and other parts of the Middle East. And, because the Trump administration and its allies don't like the fact that there are still people in this country fighting for the rights of Palestinians and doing it in a peaceful, legal way. They're trying to shut down that viewpoint by threatening to deport students from all over the country who engage in protests of what most legal experts believe is a genocide committed by Israel in Gaza. Both of these cases are outrageous. They represent a new iteration, a more intensified version of really weaponizing the law to try to shut down speech and to shut down advocacy. So I'm going to keep following Mahmoud Khalil's case. As I said, I know him. I was being used as a sounding board by Mahmoud and other students at Columbia as they grappled with trying to get the university to divest from the Israeli war machine. And I'm going to also follow this Greenpeace case here in North Dakota until it ends. It's very important that everybody stay engaged in these cases. I also want to add that's so bizarre for me personally out here in North Dakota is the very same law firm that Chevron hired to attack me in probably the world's biggest SLAPP lawsuit ever. I was sued for $60 billion. Billion dollars, the most amount of money anyone's ever been sued for, by Chevron in retaliation for helping Amazon communities in Ecuador win a landmark $10 billion pollution case against the company way back in 2013. By the way, that case has been affirmed on appeal unanimously by Ecuador's Supreme Court and also by Canada's Supreme Court for enforcement purposes. It's a real legit case, and rather than pay the people the company harm, rather than comply with court orders that it clean up its toxic disaster in the Amazon, Chevron sued me and ultimately had me locked up for almost 3 years in the nation's first private corporate criminal prosecution, which took place back in 2021. So, I'm going to monitor these cases. What's really interesting is the Gibson Dunn law firm, the law firm Chevron used against me, is the law firm being used by Energy Transfer to try to bring down Greenpeace. This is a law firm that has a playbook, and they sell this playbook to their corporate clients to try to help them weaken those of us who try to hold them accountable for their abuses. The climate people and really any protesters on the progressive side. They don't like our speech, and they're using the law to try to shut it down. We've noticed massive flaws in this trial. We have monitors out here, prominent attorneys, including Marty Garbus, not to least Segovia, and many others, Scott Badnock, Wade McMullen, who have been sitting in court, and we are going to produce a report that is going to document all of the problems, the due process problems, and the lack of fairness problems, the lack of an impartial jury that we have observed over the course of the last 3 weeks. And we will be publishing this report as soon as we can after the trial ends. In the meantime, we will await the verdict of the jury. It should probably come this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. I don't expect Greenpeace to win this trial. I think there's a very good chance they're going to lose because of all the problems with the structure of the trial. It's really unfair. Again, the jury is not impartial. But ultimately, we need to keep protecting Greenpeace as it appeals what is probably an unfavorable verdict to the North Dakota Supreme Court and even up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Again, this case has to do with whether the right to protest is going to be protected in this country when we live in a very perilous state where our government and private corporations are combining forces to try to shut us all up so we cannot speak out against abuse and stop abuse. I will be reporting back soon once we learn more after closing arguments, sometime in the next couple of days. Again, to help, or to learn more, I should say, go to trialmonitors.org. That's our trial monitoring website. And to learn more about Greenpeace's perspective, go to their trial website. It's called greenpeaceontrial.org. Thank you very much.